Good morning, welcome to 59 Minutes. My name is Levi Kones, and we are going to be discussing this morning on the final leg to the 2022 elections. To join me in that discussion is a gentleman who has not been here since 2017.
Yeah,
BENJI NDOLO.
That's 5 years. Good morning, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
And you are everything. Political strategist,
yes,
analyst,
communications,
guru.
Yeah. So when I came, they received me warmly, and the guard said, "You'll park there because it's 59 minutes." So I thought he meant I'll park for 59 minutes. It's actually, my show.
It's actually the show, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've done well, Levi. I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
Asante, same here. You've done well. You know, you're growing always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, because you're still in this business.
Professionally,
of analyzing and talking. And,
yes.
And you're a social media guru in your own right.
Thank you.
41 days to the election.
Yeah.
What's happening? Who's winning?
So I just tweeted something on my way here, and I'll be very candid as usual. The saddest thing for me about this whole thing is perhaps the fact that guys are actually counting down to Uhuru leaving. Uhuru's a nice guy. He's an affable guy. You know, he loves people, likes to have a good time.
Yeah.
But a lot of things fundamentally went wrong with his presidency. So guys are actually counting down to Uhuru's exit. And one of the biggest weapons that they're using in the campaign is, for example, against his preferred successor. One of the biggest weapons is that Honorable Raila would be furthering Uhuru's reign, continuing Uhuru's misgovernance. Oh. And so those two realities tell the whole story. What I don't get, Levi, is, you know, because I've been around politics and government for a while now, what I don't understand is it that leaders just literally never like to be told or to hear the truth? Because what I'm saying, you would imagine, is what the intelligence would be communicating very clearly to the president, that people are hurting, that people are literally unable to provide for their families, that the economy is completely and totally broken. You can see how the dollar is behaving. And the solution is not to say, oh, it's not to pass the buck.
Yeah, but they'll say that's a global problem. I mean, everyone's crying about the economy.
Yeah, but it didn't start with the invasion of Ukraine. We've been on this trajectory really since 2013. If you look at the Nairobi Stock Exchange, it's lost 50% value in the last 10 years. We had, under President Kibaki, we had 300,000 annual small business license applications. 300,000.
Yeah.
That's down to 30,000.
You know, what's a missing piece? Because when you listen to the president speaking, like the other day at
Madaraka Day.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was there.
And espousing the things that he has done.
But you see, he didn't even have to do that.
You know, in his speeches,
you can do an overview. You can do an overview, but he didn't have to do that in detail. That, in a sense, worked against him. And you know, Levi, I like the president personally. I really wanted to help President Uhuru, but I wanted to help him professionally. If we could come to an agreement, like, Your Excellency, I'm going to be the guy that tells you absolutely what nobody can. And this would have made the difference. Because, you know, he came in young, and because he's so good with people and he's a good communicator and all of that, the president who could have really made a difference is President Uhuru.
And you think he doesn't have those guys?
Clearly he doesn't.
Who tell him what's up?
No.
Is it a question of not having them, or is it a question of maybe not listening?
No, because we would know them. And we know people. Who are they? So again, it's, Levi, the reason we have this discussion and why we have to have this discussion is because, you see, you and I, for example, we're exposed and educated guys, you know? So our egos are not tiny. It's not about a man. It's not about a community. It's not about a family. When you're talking about leadership and we're talking about consequences, national consequences, You're talking about millions of lives. You're talking about the destiny of a country. You're talking about the reality of suffering. It's very personal, Bwana Kones. It's very, how leaders don't, it's funny to me, and I was happy to see the EACC boss talking yesterday. Levi, it is so sad, and I really celebrate what you've done in the media, because you've taken your job seriously. You've been a very objective, neutral, focused journalist. It's just unbelievable how people come to positions of power just for leisure, for personal aggrandizement. You don't have a university degree. Your mom knows you don't have a university degree. Your wife knows you don't. You just go and create something and submit it.
See that, by the way,
against the constitution, against the law. Then you get the job because you're a human being and you've come through all this journey of toxicity, right? So you get there and say, yeah, I'm the governor. So you start eating money, point blank, with impunity.
You know what I was thinking about that? The interesting thing is we're in an election for the first time. We have touched on chapter 6, but we don't want to really deal with it.
Yes, it's like we're touching carefully.
Yes.
10 years.
And what surprised me yesterday looking at the EACC boss is, you are the EACC Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission.
Yes.
It's a serious thing.
Yes,
exactly. But you're telling us your hands are tied.
That's terrible.
Or telling us
or you're trying to switch talkers to back you.
Telling us, the ball is in your court. You guys decide if you're going to vote for these guys or not. We had these 241 guys we could have stopped, but we have failed to stop them.
So you know what undercut all that? Because it is very clear in the Constitution in black and white. So what undermined this whole fight was the specter, the ugliness, the disaster of the entire ICC debate. And guys like you and I remember talking about this, not to attack anyone, not to hate anyone, because Africans are very sensitive people. Because of many reasons, colonialism, we're not like Wazungus, where you can actually, look at how, and Levi, I love talking to you because you're a trained journalist and you follow things around the world. Look at how President Trump's Attorney General is talking about him in public. Look at how his personal lawyer is talking about him. I sat with the president and I told him, sir, you cannot do this. This means you're living in another world. And sir, you're going to need the best legal team because you're going to go down. I said that to the president. He's going to go down. Here it's like people's egos are so fragile. There's disaster on this side, but then you have
because you're also protecting your own plate. So self-interest, self-preservation.
And you're right, it's a human instinct.
Yeah.
But countries that constantly...
If the president goes down, I lose a job, so hey.
Yes. But you see, once again, you're AG in the US, where the economy is 4%. You lose that job, you get another job next month. So that's what I'm saying. We have very serious, and if you replay this clip and go back to the beginning, I talked about a jobless economy and all of that crisis. Sometimes, Levi, I look at, I feel sometimes it's tough for me. And I'm a guy on a daily basis. I talk to a CEO, I talk to a CS, etc. And sometimes I look at, we're living in a country where there are some young men and young women out here from Subukia coming into Nairobi. They don't know anybody. Some who came, I know one who's a CEO from your community. He came in 2000, he didn't know anybody. Today's, and you're just like, suicides are up. Because people feel so hopeless. I do understand
the disillusionment in terms of, the voting bloc is in such a tough place.
In my county, Machakos County, it's 3 youths kill themselves every single day. And we need to intervene on that. That's not acceptable. I shouldn't read that and then you turn the paper and read something else. Something is wrong. And it's, again, when you have the entire infrastructure wrong. So what we talked about then, I was talking about the ICC debate, was, you see, you will have a governor who is stealing, for example. You will have another governor who has a fake degree. And I predicted that the governors, you know why they're fighting back like this? There's, in communications levy, there's what is said and what is unsaid. There's what is said, there's what is implied. What they're implying is, you guys are stopping me, surely, because of a degree of Uganda, surely, but the president, they had said murder. That is what is unspoken. And that is why the Bible talks about above reproach like Caesar's wife.
Yeah.
Not enough.
Are you saying, Benji?
And we've had this discussion before when you were elsewhere.
But are you saying that, that the moment we opened the floodgates in terms of, we promulgated the constitution.
They flooded.
Yeah. And then we said, okay, fine, we are operating with a new constitution. And this constitution, we are told, is the most progressive.
It is.
Or one of the most progressive in the world.
It is.
And it's got a, lethal chapter 6, on integrity. I mean, even a whiff is supposed to kick us out of
maybe not a whiff, but but impunity just cannot be allowed.
Of contention, really.
Yes.
But here we are, because some people say the president was set when we allowed Uhuru and Ruto to vie.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yes. Are we then saying that it's unstoppable?
It's not unstoppable.
Because of the ICC cases that now, the lawyers would call it what? They call it what? Jurisprudence, or they call it what? They would say that there was a precedent set before that, and because of that, then we now, based on that precedent,
I see what you mean.
We now cannot stop anyone else.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That it set a very bad precedent, gave a very bad example, that lawyers would argue on jurisdiction basis that the jurisprudence shows clearly that so and so, but you can actually change course, and mostly you change course, and this was the message by EACC last night and the clergy, that the electorate must start getting serious about electing clean hands leaders. And for example, if you have a president with integrity who demands a clean hands cabinet, this can make a big difference. This can make all the difference.
But here's the problem, Benji.
This can make all the difference.
If you're saying, throw it to the voter to decide whether to sort out.
The ignorance is also the issue, because the voters also say, tupatie mwizi wetu.
Yeah, if I am a dirty guy, there's that aspect, mwizi wetu. And there's a good chance that me, if I'm a dirty guy, I have got more money than a clean guy.
You're right.
And money seems to trump everything on an election campaign.
Because of poverty. Poverty.
I'll come 2 nights to the election,
because of poverty,
give everybody 200 bob, and that story is over.
Yeah. But see, that's thuggery. That's not campaign. That's not politics. That's thuggery. And again, we have gotten to a point now, and Levy, where I wanted to have this discussion and contrast the reality versus, you asked me what the president read out the other day. It's getting now to be not abstract anymore. It's not the days we could just say, the economy is this. No, it's getting now to the ground, to where the debt crisis is a problem, to where a hungry populace is a time bomb, to where you're actually risking, extended tribal configuration and mobilization. If we had a problem now, it's fair to say the problem could be worse than 2007. And in a sense, that would be unforgivable, even for you and I, because you have to move forward. You cannot regress and keep going to painful history and unresolved issues. And so, we have a situation where it's not a story anymore. I think that's why you see the deputy fighting on this. It's not by accident that His Excellency Ruto took the path that he took and the narrative that he's been building. Quite successfully, by the way. He's had his own challenges, many of his own making. As I've said before on our broadcast, a lot of Ruto's problems are of his own making. But it is not by coincidence that he came up with this entire bottom-up approach, because that is really the only approach that can make a difference. You cannot continue to live in a country where 1% are in comfort, about 8% are in the middle class and paying taxes, And then you have a country with 80% of 50 million people, my brother. Toka tu from here past Juja, tembea paka Garissa,
And I think
paka Marsabit, come round to the lake, to fishermen, come round past Kericho, round again to Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi, huko kwote. You have a country of just poor people living in mud houses, living from hand to mouth.
And I want to agree with you. But let me ask
And
you
a few guys
couple of
living
questions,
in
Benji.
Paris.
Number one, away from the slogans, is that workable? I mean, it's good. You know, everybody wants the narrative of a poor man becoming rich. You know, a grass to grace.
I don't even think everybody should
story
become rich per se.
Or you know,
It's
or making
just
it
getting an opportunity on merit.
Everybody likes that. That's not, you know, that's, you have no problem with that, Sailor. Now the question comes in.
Implementation.
Yes.
It's possible.
Is it, you know how Zamani we used to buy that kabik mandazi? And then you would bite it and then there would be air inside.
Yeah.
And you are planning to have it for lunch.
Yeah.
And you're telling yourself, you need lunch na supper.
Yeah.
Are we in such a situation where we have a big mandazi, but we do not know
Yeah.
whether it's thick inside
Yeah.
or whether it's air?
The problem which Ruto has, of course, is it's more of a credibility issue. You know, when you've been accused of so many things, when, you know, a lot of these problems are of your own making, when you allow your adversary to clearly say, Benji is the most corrupt person. Again, it didn't have to be like that. It didn't have to be like that. I do a lot of consultancy, Levy, and it is just terrible for your enemies to have the ammunition to decisively say, you see this Benji guy? This one will eat Cash TV yote, and by the end of the contract, he'll have left even with the building. That is very bad. And that is how His Excellency Ruto is seen. That is the most corrupt, that he's just, they've never seen anything like this. And the people who are saying that are themselves corrupt. So that tells you two things. That number one, that's a lethal guy. But number two, that it is just a race to the bottom. And so from a competency standpoint, it's a policy issue. It's how you prioritize. It's what you want to achieve. You know,
How do you think the electorate will react on voting day?
Look at what Biden achieved in his first 100 days and 6 months. President Biden came in.
He signed a lot of things.
He just immediately said, okay, so this is our budget. I mean, because all these things are not done at night. So we have COVID. So I'm going to sign relief today to send money for rent, for this. I also need to sign and for the government to give relief for vaccines and masks. So take that to the treasury, pay that, distribute that. So in our case, we got relief even from some of these countries. The masks get here. Some few guys who are powerful pick the same, put in a container, ship and sell.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
All those things are really, they're really
What are you talking about?
Very disgusting. But I'm asking you, Benji, what do you think the reaction will be at the ballot? Because some people say that we are about to face one of the greatest voter apathies.
And that's sad.
Of recent times. That,
Yeah.
you know, projectively speaking,
Yeah.
maybe less than 50% of people will vote.
Let me say this, and you know I'm a straight shooter, and I'm an honest man. Prior to the selection of Gachagua as running mate, I just cannot see how it was possible to root out DP Ruto. I mean, the tide is against him. The tide has been against him. The attacks on him have been big. But you see, Levy, the attacks on him are what have also grown him. It is through fighting him that the state has built Ruto to this huge behemoth, to this huge force of hustlers and whatever narrative he has been selling. And so there's a lot of enthusiasm. I say that the running mate's dilemma was the turning point. I really do feel that Martha Karua was a game changer. Politics is never perfect. It makes for strange bedfellows. She's a lady I know and I've worked with. She's tough. She had her serious issues with Honorable Raila. She's no nonsense. There are interests that thought she should be there. She made the big difference. And so now, again, it's a toss-up up in the air.
Yeah, everyone is saying that. You know, I keep telling people, they ask me, oh, you know how you meet informally? They say, who's winning? I say, you know, I woke up yesterday thinking it was Ruto, but I woke up today thinking it's Raila.
Yes,
and
exactly.
tomorrow, you know, you wake up, you're thinking it's, you know,
the thing that could make a big difference this time. And not everybody reads newspapers. Newspapers are good. Even sometimes I don't read papers anymore because it's tiresome. But the thing that could shift this election is one thing only. People are hurting so bad, Levy. They now cannot think tribe anymore. Hey, my friend, we're back to where Moi left us.
That's what worries me. Because
we're back to where Moi left us.
Yeah, you see the thing of 202, it was remove Moi
Kanu by all
Kanu,
means, yes.
And, you know, forget about it.
Completely.
And just plaster in a new thing.
Yes.
And, you know, people went to the, you know, even some people, even from predominantly, even places where Moi would have gotten big blocks.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Didn't give the same to Uhuru because of the, you know, the fact that he was a continuation
Yes.
of Moi.
Correct.
You know, and of course the songs.
So even now, the effort would have been to uproot Jubilee. But now you see, Raila is a stopgap measure.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Now, what could happen if the DP is able to mobilize all Maskini to his narrative? It's over.
Yeah, but look, Benji, I want to ask you a question. We are in a sort of conundrum. Here we are with an opposition candidate
in government
who became, you know,
a
the
government
project.
Yeah.
And we have the deputy president still sitting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it happens.
Who at some point in time, you know, owns that he is the deputy president.
Right.
At some point says that, you know, these things stopped after.
So that by definition is called convoluted. So that's a convoluted.
It's so messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's inside out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even when you want to pin someone on something and you look at the ball, you really do not know.
No, it's not so hard. I mean, the buck stops with the president. All of this has to be put at the foot of President Uhuru.
Who is leaving and not on the ballot.
Yeah, so then you'd punish what he wants. So sometimes you wonder if it's a scheme. So in politics, we call it the kiss of death. That when Moi was unpopular, if Moi endorses you, then you're over. If Uhuru becomes unpopular, if Uhuru endorses you, you're over. If you're against him, you win. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's things you can't say on air. Sometimes, and I talk to a lot of people.
Sometimes you wonder whether
you just wonder if
the
this
opposite is true.
Yeah.
I know.
You wonder if this, because you know also, also, and there's limits to what I can say. You know also, Uhuruto, they didn't get to where they are by being foolish. They're not foolish. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uhuru did not become president because he's dumb. No. There are many factors and many things behind the scene. And so, I don't know. I've heard it said sometimes, oh, you know, he said, mi nitaenda nyumbani na huyu mzee. I don't know. You know,
let me ask you something.
I don't know, spread propaganda.
Let me go to the umpire, because we have to talk about that. How high would you rate your confidence with the IEBC?
I'm sure you have a lot of viewers, because you know this is like juicy. And I hope you put it online. This is.
I will.
I go to places and we start talking politics, and in fact, the other day I was somewhere and we were talking politics with a Catholic priest, a bunch of us.
Yeah.
And the next thing, it was after 10 p.m. And he was a very influential, you know, the priest in the community.
Especially when you do it without emotions and you know.
And we're just exchanging.
Yeah, and you're exchanging ideas. And
you know,
and
you're
taking
when you
places.
finish and they say, hey, tafadhali, nipatia namba yako. Bwana unajua, you see someone scratching their head. And this is someone who talks to, you know, presidents even. So it's very juicy and it's very nice. IEBC.
Yeah, let me ask you about the umpire.
It's a very good question. Here's what I think. And then this is an informed opinion. So the IEBC, on paper or constitutionally, is independent. Okay? Therefore, it should not be directed. And if you try to direct it or manipulate it, it can push back. There can be a fight. Of course, they're very powerful people in this country who can direct anything.
They've just shown us what's up by rejecting EACC's recommendations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
showed us the independence.
Yeah, which I don't know that was the right thing to do. Now, what happens is that this Chebukati is not looking like the same Chebukati of 2017. So that can portend
feisty.
That can portend a problem.
Yeah, you've seen it.
They're a bit feisty.
Yeah.
That can portend a problem in the sense that, you see now, whatever special interest wants to move whatever agenda, if IBC is firm.
Now, look at the presidential, candidates that did not get a chance. Huh? I know that today there's a bit of demos. I think Mwangiwa area is holding one at the law courts. So is Ruben Kigame. He's going to be at Milimani. He's also called for press, to cover that story.
Some of these are just storms in a teacup.
We have my friend Daktari Okot, who has now gone to court trying to nullify the elections,
Yeah, those are extreme measures. Why nullify the election?
Yeah, the question I want to ask you is this. On the paper, because IBC had told us that we had how many candidates for presidency? I think there were 50-something.
Yeah, initially.
Yeah. People who want to be president of Kenya.
By the way, I've never really told anyone this, but in 2017, Wajakoya asked me to be his running mate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had that discussion.
Would have been talking here about cannabis.
Yeah, which I can't do that. So,
that's funny.
Which I can't
I've been looking for him, by the way, because I really want to. He's been a bit dodgy, but I hope I'll get him here soon.
Yeah, I'm told he might be the project of someone now. There's
that story also. And here's an interesting thing. The paper, it's funny you say that. The paper today says that...
because I noticed yesterday...
I think it's the Standard.
I noticed that they've deployed security to him, quietly.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I noticed that yesterday.
Yeah? There is something here that talked about... Or maybe it was a nation. But the statement that made, because I wanted to read it verbatim, in terms of what Wajakoya said. He said, if you... I think I've lost it, but he said...
There it is. Yeah.
Yes. He said, and I thought really,
Yeah.
he said,
I heard him saying it in Doluo yesterday.
Yeah, speaking in fluent Doluo.
Yeah.
In Mr. Odinga's backyard of Kisumu, Professor Wajakoya said a victory for either candidate would be celebrated across Nyanza and Western because of their shared heritage. And he said that he was Jaramogi's chief food taster and wouldn't mind teaming up with his son.
Wow, imagine. Yeah, so I think he actually worked for Jaramogi. Because this guy initially was in special branch.
Yeah. When you have a presidential candidate cleared by the IBC, running against another presidential candidate, but offers to work with one of his competitors, then it tells you a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It says a lot. It says there's things happening behind the scenes. There's overtures. There's what is known. There's the known unknowns.
And there are known,
but there's also the unknown unknowns. So you're right. It's a tough one. Yeah. Rumsfeld.
Yeah. So those things that you're saying that behind the scenes, there's always so much happening behind the scenes. But where that leads us to Mwananchi. Mwananchi says that those guys were saying, so why should I vote?
Exactly. And that's we must debunk that because this is a broadcast.
Yeah.
There's the DP calls it story. There's this story, deep state.
Yeah.
The deep state, they do this and they do that. It's we must debunk this system. Yeah, sitting somewhere.
Kitchen cabinet.
Kitchen cabinet.
Yeah.
Kiambu mafia. It's so funny because President Trump talked about deep state as president. I mean, openly and all the time. He said, so-and-so, the part of the deep state that wants to overturn and remove a sitting president. Indeed, he said it repeatedly. The election was stolen, etc.
But they also...
This narrative of deep state
discourages
young people.
Even that narrative, they see on it. Because at one point they say it's not there. Like when they went to the IBC. you know, and like the way they go to the rallies and they tell people, you story a deep state.
Oh, I see what you mean. Then they also say that
then they go to IBC,
yeah,
and then they make a statement and say, you know what, the deep state is trying to influence elections. They're trying to change.
Of course, deep state is there.
From where we sit as
deep state is there.
As Wananchi, we are like, okay.
But the point is
it alive? Is it dead?
Deep state is there. Deep state will always be there. By the way, Levy, and we are friends, I am so proud to have been one of the first analysts. You know how sometimes, like when you run for something, then they do research and find Allah. I was one of the first analysts ever to talk about, in those words, deep state, years back. What is deep state? The role of deep state. In fact, I remember giving a briefing to my former boss on the same, in detail. In those, and I wrote. I even have the notes.
So are you telling us it's there?
Deep state has to be there. What shouldn't be there? What shouldn't be there is the disillusionment. You see, I think you know the theory of power distance. Yeah. The theory of power distance, you know. You see, we're a third world poor country. So a lot of things that happen in government and the state, etc., they're very distant to Mwananchi in Charangani. They're very distant to a herdsman in Boni. And yet those are the majority. So when they hear these big terms, you know, I mean, most Kenyans have never left the borders. You understand? Yeah. So when they hear stuff like this, they just immediately get deflated. Because it's just like, if deep state can sumbua Ruto, who I happened to catch a glimpse on kwa helicopter when he came to my village, na alikuja na magari 70, so mimi ni nani? Why should I vote? So this is, you can see how much impact I can have in civic education, in having these discussions. Because again, if you just hark back to when you were 17, 16, just before you went to the US, just remember how naive a boy you are. Yeah. I mean, the days of Saddam, your dad. And you just look, you know, he's such a distant guy, yeah? Yeah. I mean, was he your boy? That's power distance. That's power where you even think, I want to go to Kapsabet for this. So I think I'll approach tomorrow and talk to him about this. Then tomorrow comes, you look at your own, it's your own dad. Then you say, let me try and send mom, or I'll talk to him in the evening or the other day. Then he asks you, Levi, barigari bwana? You say, fine sir, and that's your dad. So.
And you can never really approach.
So just imagine, you can't really even approach anything. Yeah. But as you grow and you get exposure, etc., even you realize, this guy is a paper tiger. Now even you do what you want, in a sense. If, for example, now today tells you, I think you should do this. You
can actually say no.
Totally, yeah. You're like, oh no. In fact, Kikuyus are very good. In fact, I took a Kikuyu because, you can argue your case very well until he's actually proud of you. And that's why I don't like to spread hopelessness. That's why I don't like to discourage young people. They already feel, a lot of guys who go to rallies, by the way, Levy, all over they just go to see the shiny cars, to see Raila in person, to see Ruto in person. How does he look? They're not actually there to vote. And these are some of the issues that you have with societies that are not really sophisticated. Go and see a campaign in Sweden or Switzerland, and you'll see the difference. Even in the US, where people are, you do a rally, all these guys come in their trucks, so their trucks are on this side, and the president's convoy is on that side. Then now it's not bribes, it's more ideological, it's more... And
they will tackle you hard on questions.
Exactly. I've done campaigns in the US. Yeah. I've been a campaign surrogate. And they're like, they ask you questions. And when you speak, they really listen. With your accent, and you're a black guy, imagine. So I'm doing some work, and they really engage you. You know how it is, and they ask you questions. And at some point, they're like, okay, so are you also running for something? And you're like, no, I'm doing it. No, I think you should run. Yeah. It's very open. You could just be elected a mayor. Kenyans are being elected mayors in London. True. And running. But here it's about thuggery. And huyu ni mtoto wa nani? Is he Kipsigis? Why is he saying he's Luya? Is he what? That is the sad part. Yeah. But
I
hope
saw
dies
a meme
last.
going on Twitter that, you know, that we have replaced the qualifications with nimetumwa na so and so.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's the whole qualification.
backward.
Ever go to an office and you show up and you're like, I've been sent by, and that's the key.
And even the person you're sent to just stands up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just a note, it's an instruction. I actually know someone who was hired like that. I know someone who was hired like that.
And that's the key.
The wife of a friend. And in fact, how the whole discussion went, it's a broadcast, there's details I can't go into, is I think one day she had been here for a while, then somehow the guy found out from the husband that he said, oh, where is she nowadays? And then she said, oh, you know, she had gone, gave the specific ministry or bank. Then he said, and the guy just said, you know, these guys are jokers. You know, this is chairman and CEO. So he picks the phone and calls. And of course, you know the usual thing. They start scrambling around, looking for the CV, Nini. So within 4 days, she had been employed, the letters, the everything. You know, the person calling you for the job is literally shaking. They're like, hi, you are Levy. How are you? Can you come to my office at 9 a.m.? This was a big mistake. Why did you tell boss that? Oh, if he asks you, can you say that we already employed you? Oh, my goodness. So can you sign here? Because we are going to pay you 1 month in arrears and also the current month. Oh, my goodness. You want me to go home? I have a family. That is the country we live in.
That is the country we live in.
It's like receiving a call from Uhuru at a certain bank.
Oh, yeah.
Huyu Kones, hamukuweka yeye kwa kazi? How do you say? First of all, you're standing up when you're picking the phone. But you see, we don't have to always be that kind of a country in Africa. We also want meritocracy. I've been talking about these things from the first times I was talking to people like Jeff. We also want meritocracy. I like so much, like on my Twitter handle, by the way, viewers, I'm at BENJI NDOLO. BENJI is BENJI NDOLO on Twitter. Because social media nowadays with smartphones, everybody's on there. Sometimes I just have random guys, someone will just come and say, hi, my name is this, I grew up in a place called Tenwek, I need this and this, my son needs attachment, or I need attachment. You know, you don't look at the tweet and you say, you know, who are you, I don't know you, why don't you go to William? No, I just call a friend of mine, I say, and I do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Then I say, oh, so-and-so will be in touch with you, Nini. Then you just let them go on their merry way.
Yeah. Where it's possible, help. I always say that.
Kwanza, your community, they're very good.
Especially, you know, things you can pick a phone call for.
I did something for...
Why not?
You know my former boss, and
Yeah.
he's, you know, is titled to security detail. Yeah. So I did something for them as far as promotions, etc. And they deserved it. And you know, your community, they're very kind. I'm very observant and analytical. Oh, they're very kind. They said, oh, kubwa asante. Nilikuwa niko na ng'ombe yako hapa. Hata picha ndio hii. Niambie wapi naleta hii ng'ombe. Na my colleague pia analeta ng'ombe hii ya maziwa. And I said, no, well, we'll see. You know, I just went like this. And I said, no, when we do the other, ndio hiyo tutafanya ng'ombe. And they said, sasa kuna kitu tulikuwa tumetengeneza hapa. So maybe that one I can take, then I also take some of it to the church, etc. But this is, I think we're closing now. This is probably my last point.
Yeah.
I just came from Kisumu yesterday, and I had a discussion with a friend. And we were just trying to see, you know, Levi, I'm sorry to say, because of our colonial history, it's like Kenyans, in a way, if you see how we treat each other, it's like we hate each other. It's like, if you just go random, I love studying society. If you just see how a bouncer will treat someone who is drunk in a pub, or a lady who is drunk in a pub, while in the execution of his duties. If you see how a carjacker behaves after he has carjacked somebody, or invaded a home with the family and the kids. You know, a friend of mine, they were raided at night. He's very outspoken, a Luo guy. Hey, so they were tied, nini. Then they got into this argument. He's a vocal guy, he was not scared. He said, Bwana, I've already given you money, now you want to rape my wife. There's so much oppression in the society. If you just see how a minister behaves to their underlings, the way they misuse the drivers and bodyguards, you make somebody work for 20 hours, they go home to their family at midnight, and they picked you at 4 a.m. They were in your compound at 4 a.m.
Hey, you're not even worried for your own safety. Because if they are sleepy,
imagine,
it's you who will be affected.
You are going to Harambee, they carry your money, you don't even ever give them lunch money. So one of the things that...
It's interesting you say that, you know,
so I asked a friend of mine, why do you... And she was like, you know, the history of colonialism, etc. So, And I'm like, isn't that what we try to go away from? Rather than become the new colonialist. So in your home, and these discussions are ongoing in social media, I know you personally, I know your family, I know your wife, and I like the conversations you're having because, you know, Levi, it is not good you come here in a nice suit, you talk nicely on TV, you go home, you serve, you cook chapati, then you tell the house help, after she has made chapati, now to make her own dinner, which is githeri with overcooked skuma.
True, true.
Then when you're having dinner, you say, no, you see you're a waka.
Kaa huko.
Wewe kaa huko, and even there's no seat, sit on the floor. So there's a lot of that happening. There's a lot of that happening. You leave home in the morning, and because you are the powerful man, you go back, then you tell the help, you see, I want you to be my second wife. Like in you say, I'm mama. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going on, and it is indicative of a very rotten society, because if you're going to be able to pay in your house, how can you be a custodian of county funds? How can you take care of ministry money? How can you take care of money meant for CDF?
True.
You can't.
True.
So change starts with yourself. Change starts within. And embrace others. And don't just judge Ruto or judge Raila. What about yourself? And this is where Uhuru gets it well. I said, he's a good guy, personable, etc. He said, you know, even security starts with you. Where he goes wrong is the excesses, the looting. So we're borrowing money and it's being looted. Even he's saying, like on a broadcast like where I am now, he said, you know, mi naongea kama rais, 2 billion napotea kila siku. Allah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine you saying at CAS, but yeah, CAS we lose money every day. So you as the host, your boss as the CEO, chairman, those 3 are accountability points. And something must give. That is the approach the president should have used. For me as president, Ruto as my deputy, Matiang'i as my coordinator of cabinet or whoever is at treasury, sisi waine. Here, either mimi niende nyumbani ama nyinyi muende, choose. When you don't do that, then mnakula wote.
But will we get there?
We will, Levi.
We can only have hope.
It's
Because if we don't have hope, then we don't have a country.
You and I, we are old enough to remember there's a time you could be picked by special branch. In fact, this came up in a discussion in Kisumu the other day. If we sat in a house and talked to 5 people during the Moi rule, you knew that one of them wanted to finish our discussion at 10 p.m. By the next morning, the provincial administration knows where we were, how many we were, and what we discussed. That's the country we came from. And so it was a crime almost to say things like, oh, you're in a bar, you're drinking. Like,
it was sedition.
Yeah, it was sedition to say, you know, there's a guy who was a guy from my community, Mkamba. He said, he was tired. He can't imetunyanyasa sana. After Kibaki was fired, he said, siku moja Kibaki atakuwa rais wa hii nchi. Oh, he slept in the cell. You could not talk like that. I think that was sometime in 89.
Yeah.
89, just after Kibaki had been demoted.
He left on Christmas 89.
And then, now, Christmas. I think he left on Christmas 91, I think. Or was it 89? Because he got demoted to health, etc.
Wait, it was 90.
So yeah, 90, yes. 90, 91. Now that time there, you couldn't just talk loosely. And President Moi is there in Ati. And today, Kibaki is a retired president and now deceased, who was out of office for 10 years. God is great. God is great always.
What's your final point to guys watching? What's your take home this morning?
Thanks for watching, guys. Don't despair. I know it is tough. It is really tough. Let us move away from tribal politics. Let us move away from backward politics. Let us move away from hatred and animosity. But most of all, the things that cause even all these things is, and it's so funny we never talk about this, it is allocation of resources that is always a problem. Even it took me a while to figure this out. I used to think other things. It is always the pie. It is always the cake. And so people feel, you know, wakale, wamekula, walikuwa hapo. Wao wenyewe nasema wale walikula. So let us demand more from our leaders. Wewe usiogope governor wako, usiogope MP, si ati umemkosea heshima. demand results. Devolution was good. I just saw a road being done after another road in my village. New
tarmac hit my village
picture.
For the first time.
Tarmac hit my village in 2016.
Since independence.
Tarmac hit my village in 2016, and now it is hitting the village next to my village. What that means is that if I drive around, I'm comfortable always. My car is never dirty. Devolution is great. But devolution will not happen if wewe unaweka mtu pale because of clan or because he bribed you, alafu unaweka mwizi. Devolution will work if we make counties centers of excellence. So let us look for leaders. Let us be sober. We will have a country. Indeed, we will have a country.
We will.
If we don't do that, itakuwa tu malumbano, chuki, vita, miaka nenda, miaka rudi. Such a beautiful country. I like the expressway. We can, in future, have expressways in many different counties and ways of doing things and airports. Look at the airport in Eldoret. It can scale up and do a lot more and create jobs and bring money, not for one family, not for two leaders, but for the economy of Kenya, which is made of Kenyans. I flew over Kericho yesterday. It's so beautiful. That is the country we have. The tea. I attended a function. I'm very public in my social media. I attended a function 2 weeks ago with the British High Commissioner. She's my friend. And she said something which really struck me. She said it in public. And it was told to her by her boss, the Prime Minister. And I was standing next to Martha Karua. And I told her, Madam, unaona hii maneno? Because we must love our country. 1 in every 2 cups of tea taken in Europe comes from where?
Okay.
Alafu. And you weren't there, but you know that. 1 in every 2 cups of tea comes from Kenya.
Yeah.
Imagine.
And even the tea we take, I know, is not the high quality tea.
It is taken in France, in Buckingham Palace even. Then how dare we have a country where a tea farmer is poor? That means we are not serious. Let me talk like Atweli now. That means we are not serious. We must be serious. We must be serious.
Watch Atweli before you say the next one.
We must be serious.
Let's end on that note. That's 59 minutes for today. BENJI NDOLO, always a pleasure, man.
Thanks, man. It was a good discussion. I didn't prepare, no notes. These are not mine. I found them here. We'll do this again. But thank you for what you're doing. Again. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, bro.
Congratulations, new studio. I've not been here in the new studio. Looks very good.
Yeah, thank you.
And viewers, keep watching. Do Facebook.
We hope you come back soon and not in 5 years.
Oh, I'll come back soon. We're brothers.
Yeah.
And my best to your family.
Thank you, bro.
And to the country and to everyone.
Cheers. That's it for this morning. Stay tuned for Ilosu coming up and have a wonderful day. That's 59 minutes.